and they are under threat. Their health is, and it's concerning. And I thought I would share this with you. This is not the first time I've discussed it. We'll get to that in a moment. And always invite you to participate in the conversation. I enjoy immensely when you call. I love hearing from you. I know many of you are out there wanting to call, but have communication apprehension, or what's called communication anxiety, CA, and, don't do it. It's a listener-friendly show, not to worry. You can call with a question, a comment, a story, something that's relevant, resonant with you, something that may have changed your life. It doesn't even have to be on the topic about which I'm focused at the moment, with a guest or by myself if I'm solo. It's okay. And we know from the research that only a small percentage of the audience on any radio show will call in. It's a very small percentage, but that's okay. We keep trying to inspire you to do it, and I immensely enjoy speaking with you. And if you have a whole lot of courage, we can even put you on the stream. And if you want to do that, we can get you up on the TV, and you'll be on global. And we are global. And Let's Talk Nutrition is health talk radio for the 21st century. Highly digital, but we're an analog show. It's terrestrial radio, but it's also digital. It's both. And here's how to get in touch with the show.
You can reach us at 877-897-8255 or at Dr. Garko at letstalknutrition.com. That's his personal email. Don't forget to follow us on Let's Talk Nutrition on Facebook and on the Twitter at LTN Radio. And if you go to letstalknutrition.com, Doc, you know what's happening?
Tell me.
When you talk about a product, we are putting a link up where you can actually purchase that product or go to the website.
Okay. That's it. Letstalknutrition.com.
So that way when people, 2 days later, people are like, hey, what were you talking about?
We have a record of it.
Yeah.
For the last 3 decades, there have been observations made about the overweight and obesity epidemic that's besetting our country. And it's global. And some researchers put particular attention on children and adolescents. And it's not only our country, as I said, it's global, and many researchers are observing this phenomenon reach across the globe. And what's interesting about it, there are a lot of variables that contribute to overweight and obesity. But the one constant, the one underlying variable or overarching, however you want to metaphorically or describe it, is diet. It is diet. That is the one variable that accounts for so much of the variance. When you build regression models which try to predict outcome on a dependent variable, when you plug in the variables, diet, exercise, sleep, and you plug them into the statistical model, those are the independent variables, and you're looking for the outcome, which is obesity. Diet accounts for most of the variance. So it's not surprising that it is the variable of interest. This new report looked at worldwide obesity, at least the trends, over the past 4 decades. They went even back a further decade than I just alluded to. I said 3. And what they discovered was that obesity in children and teenagers is 10 times greater at present than it was in 1975. Think about this for a minute. Do the math. 1975 to present is not a long time ago. And that 5 years from now, they're predicting that there will be more obese children than underweight children. This study was conducted by scientists at the Imperial College London in the United Kingdom, and they collaborated with the WHO, World Health Organization. I opened the show by saying that our greatest resource as a country is under threat, and it is our children. More than 1,000 researchers examined, and by the way, the study was published in The Lancet, a very prestigious journal. And 1,000 researchers took a look at body mass index of almost 130 million people living in 200 countries. They reported in the press release that this is the largest number of people to have ever been included in an epidemiological study. Of that number, that total number, sample size, 31.5 million were between 5 and 19 years of age, and 97.4 million were at least 20 years old. Now, they used body mass index as a measure, as the metric. And after they collected their data, they found that globally, total childhood obesity rates increased by more than tenfold in 4 decades. My goodness, that is astounding. Astounding. It's almost like, some viral plague, affecting people. And it's afflicting these children in significant ways. They're growing up with adult diseases, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, orthopedic issues, the beginnings of heart disease. These are children, for heaven's sake. Children. Type 2 diabetes. And never mind all of the social stigma that's attached to it, and how they're doing psycho-emotionally as well. They're not doing well. Last year, an additional, specifically, well, when I come back, I'll tell you what the numbers were in 1975. The question is, what do we do? What can we do? What should we do?
And flavonoids that target pain and inflammation throughout the body. Body Vigor's Inflammaforce contains ingredients that support normal, healthy joint flexibility and function, builds healthy tissue, and helps with your recovery process. So if you're tired of sore joints and inflamed muscles, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce is your answer. Purchase Inflammaforce.
Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition, wherever and however you may be listening or watching the show, and whatever you may be doing. Reporting on this global study, the data just came in. It's just been published in The Lancet. And it's not breaking news, but it's nevertheless still disturbing. And it focuses on obesity rates globally. And the study, it gets your attention when you look at the hard numbers. And of course, statistics are abstractions of reality, but these are children. These are real people, and it's concerning. So I focus on it because I think it's a matter of grave importance to us as a society to pay attention to this. Within the United States, between 2011 and 2014, that period of time, just obesity now, among children and adolescents, not talking about overweight, I'm not including them. Between 2011 and 2014, the numbers, that's ages 2 to 19 years of age. The prevalence of obesity has remained fairly stable in that time frame at about 17%. This is according to the CDC. And the only good news in there that it's remained stable during that period of time. That's the only good news there. And we're going to flash that up onto the screen. That's 17%. That's about almost 13 million children and adolescents. And what we find is that the prevalence of obesity is higher among Hispanic children than non-Hispanic blacks, than among non-whites. It's higher among Hispanics and non-Hispanic blacks compared to non-Hispanic whites. Interestingly, the prevalence of obesity was lower in non-Hispanic Asian children than in youngsters who were non-Hispanic white, non-Hispanic black, or Hispanic. Now, when you think about it for a second, you say, yes, it's a serious problem. When you add in the overweight children, it comes to about 25% of children and adolescents being overweight or obese. 25% of children. That is significant. What are the implications for you, for me, for society, and for these kids, these young people? In terms of you and me, adults, and society generally, it has implications for the medical complex that we have in caring for people. And that as these children become adults, they're going to get sicker and sicker, and they're going to need medical care. They're already sick. Many of them, yes, they're walking around, they're playing video games, they're going to school, but they have disease processes in play. Heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and so on. High blood pressure. By the time they reach 20 years of age, if not corrected, they are now, the stage is set for them to put a real burden on the medical system. They're already getting medical care, and it's costly. As they get older, it becomes even more costly because the problem exacerbates. One disease leads to another to another. By the time they're in their midlife, and what we're watching this in slow motion, in a sense, but it's not so slow. When you look at the rate of increase in 3 to 4 decades, in this new study, it's showing the rate of increase is astounding globally. Why does it happen globally? Oh, and by the way, the countries in which the obesity is most prevalent, if you had to guess, do you think it would be rich countries, affluent countries, or do you think it would be the less affluent countries? If you had to guess, what do you think it would be? Well, the answer is affluent. The countries that are most affected are the ones that have the most. That have the most. And the United States, Australia, for example, are being devastated by this epidemic. And right now, childhood obesity is 10 times higher. In this new study, they report 10 times higher than it was in 1975. That's only that's 42 years ago. That's 42 years ago. That's it. U.S., Australia, Canada, and Ireland, New Zealand, and the UK. Those countries, the English-speaking countries, are hardest hit. Why is that? Because the diet in those countries has become processed, highly processed, refined foods. In some of those countries, it was imported from here. We come back, we have you comment, see what my producers have to say about it, because they have children, and just like you, and I'd like to hear from you too. We'll give you the numbers when we come back.
Battling sinus, bronchial disorders, allergies.
In 1975, there were 5 million girls in worldwide who were obese. In 2016, there were 50 million. In 1975, which was 42 years ago, if my math is right, there were 6 million boys worldwide who were obese. And this new study points out that the number skyrocketed to 74 million in 2016. Welcome back to Let's Talk Nutrition. It is this obesity rate of increase is off the chain, no doubt about it. Last year, worldwide, there were 213 additional children and teenagers who were found to be overweight. There's a distinction between overweight and obesity. Overweight is the platform leading to obesity. Geographically, this spike in childhood obesity, and according to this study, was observed in East Asia and in high-income English-speaking countries that I mentioned a moment ago. America, Australia, Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, and the UK in alphabetical order. And it's not an accident. The irony, the paradox is in some of the third world countries where food is less prominent and available and less processed food, the obesity epidemic is not as prevalent. They don't have enough to eat. They're undernourished. Here we have overweight malnutrition. There we have underweight malnutrition. The children that are overweight and obese are malnourished.
Yeah, I'm chomping at the bit over here because
that's Gary Gilkey, one of my producers. Go ahead.
Okay, my son growing up, all right, was heavy until he was about 12 years old, and my wife at the time went back to Mediterranean diet. That's what she grew up on. Her parents are Italian. Mm-hmm. One is Sicilian, one is Napolitans. They're from Italy. Mm-hmm. And so she started growing vegetables, her own vegetables. And they lived in a little bitty apartment, and they had like a little stand out back. And they started, and my son lost weight. Now he's down. I mean, it's funny because the neighbor girl came over the other night and goes, "Hey, when's your son coming back over?" And I'm like, we're not really talking right now. And he goes, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, "Why?" Because he's cute. And I never had that growing up. You saw pictures of me. I was heavy until I got into high school. And when I got into high school, I dropped a lot of weight. So the fat shaming for adolescents is
big deal.
Very detrimental.
So you grew up, so you're a living example. I don't like to, if you bring it up, I'll use you as an example, but I don't like to put that kind of spotlight on you. But that's a portion of this story, this narrative that doesn't get enough attention. And that is the psycho-emotional distress and stress that these youngsters experience because of their weight. Mm-hmm. And even though it's common and prevalent, they still get picked on, they're still made fun of, they are still shamed and blamed and treated differently. You experienced that firsthand, and you're a little, if you can imagine, Gary, the kids that are growing up now, you're a generation or two removed from them already. If you thought it was tough for you, it's even tougher for them.
Oh, yeah, because society has pushed that slender look so much. When you make skinny jeans, when you're putting out skinny jeans and skinny margarita and skinny this and skinny that, skinny everything, and you didn't have that in the 80s when I grew up or in the early part of the 90s. But there was still that shaming there.
And the shaming still continues. And we shame directly and indirectly. And we discriminate directly and indirectly when it comes to weight.
I know I can tell you right now, I know that I didn't get several jobs because I was fat.
Okay.
I can tell you that. I mean, yeah.
And that's not surprising. And women, and that affects women even more, especially in the media business. Women that need to be on camera, reporters, and whatnot. The discrimination is even greater. So if you have a woman who's a woman of color and overweight or obese, she's a triple minority. She's a female, she's a person of color, and she's overweight or obese.
Bay News 9 has a she's not an anchor, she's like a field reporter, and she's a bigger girl. She's what you'd call thick, okay? And I applaud them for putting her on TV.
Yeah. A lot of stations, a lot of news networks and stations will not.
Yeah.
If they get caught, they're in a lot of trouble. You can't discriminate. But this has grave implications. I appreciate you bringing it up. I mean, I know that's personal and it's hurtful. So, if you have a comment or a question, please call. Gary, give you the number. I'd love to hear from you. If you have the inclination to want to share a story where you experienced the discrimination. People think I'm making this up sometimes. I get off air and I walk down the hall. People in the building listen to the show and say, really? I say, yes. I'm not making it up. Give us a call.
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-8255, or anywhere in the world at 813-636-8255. What I thought was interesting was I sent you the diet, the Latino diet.
Right.
Okay. And
that was from the Census Bureau, by the way. And
it's very depressing if you look at the food that goes on in their diet.
Well, what happens is there's the process of acculturation. When you have people immigrating into a culture, whether it's ours and some others or some other culture, they bring with them their food culture with them. Oftentimes it could be very healthy or aspects of it unhealthy. When they bring it into another culture, that begins to influence the culture in which they now reside. At the same time, the culture in which they now live is changing their relationship with food too. Make no mistake about it, Latin food has had a big influence on American diet culture. Look at the number of Latin Mexican restaurants at every bend and turn. At the same time, our culture, our food culture specifically, has had an impact on Latinos coming into this country, and often not for the better. Had an interesting question. The relationship between obese parents and obese children, what's the correlation statistically?
Don't be stressed. Whether you spend your free time on a treadmill, under a car, or in your garden, if your active lifestyle leaves you sore, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce may be exactly what you need. Inflammaforce has a natural herb blend that acts as an anti-inflammatory to help maintain healthy joint and mobility support. There are standardized herbs like white willow, boswellia, turmeric, ginger, and devil's claw. The vegetarian capsule promotes easy digestion and a fast-acting dissolve process. Inflammaforce includes a proprietary enzyme herbal blend full of antioxidants and flavonoids that target pain and inflammation throughout the body. Body Vigor's Inflammaforce contains ingredients that support normal, healthy joint flexibility and function, builds healthy tissue, and helps with your recovery process. So if you're tired of sore joints and inflamed muscles, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce is your answer. Purchase Inflammaforce exclusively on Amazon.com.
had a interesting question. It was sent to me to my email, and you can do that, Dr. Garko at Let's Talk Nutrition. Todd posed an interesting question, and he said, quote, is there a study that shows the percentage of parents that are obese that have obese children? And that's a good question. Turns out that there is some research on the correlation between obese parents and obese children. There was one study published in Public Library of Science 1. That's a very prestigious PLOS 1, very prestigious journal. And what they found, I grabbed this on the fly. I had remembered the study, and they use Pearson correlation coefficients. If you're a statistician, you know what I'm talking about. Between parent and child BMI measures. And what they found was that I'm trying to break this down for you in a way that's going to make sense to you. It's hard to give these numbers without confusing you. Let me go back to this one page here that I had. I pulled it up. This is live radio, so that's what happens when you do live radio. What they find, it's not as clean as you think it would be. Not as simple either. You know, it depends on if the mother's obese. It depends on if the father's obese. It depends on if both parents are obese and how that will affect the obesity rate among children. The coefficients, between parent and child BMI measures were 0.15 for father and son pairs, 0.17 for father and daughter pairs, and 0.20 for mother-son pairs, and 0.23 for mother-daughter pairs. Now, that number doesn't mean much to you unless I explain that Pearson correlation coefficients run from 0 to 1. The closer you get to 1, the stronger the correlation. So if you have a correlation coefficient of 0.50, that's strong. 0.70, that's very strong. These were relatively weak, but yet statistically significant. They did also an odds ratio analysis, and they found that children were 2.5 times more likely to be obese if only the father was obese. They found that children were 1.9 times, almost twice as likely to be obese if only the mother was obese. And the children were 3.2 times more likely to become obese if both parents were obese. So it makes a difference. You know, mom alone, father alone, there's not much difference there. It's about twice, the children are twice as likely. Whether the mother's obese, just the mother, they're twice as likely to become obese. If the father's obese, they're almost twice as likely to become obese. But if both parents are obese, it bumps up to 3.2 times more likely for the kids to become obese when both parents are obese. So I was mentioning to the crew during the break, I said, if you visit a theme park and sit down on a bench for a period of time and watch the general population walk by you, typically when you see the mother and father obese or one of the parents obese, the odds are good you're going to see one child, or if there's more than one child in the family, being obese. What becomes even more complicated is that sometimes in the family, you'll have more, let's say 3 children. And then out of the 3, 1 is obese, 2 are not, or 2 are obese and 1 isn't. Not all 3 children are obese, but both parents are. Or one of the parents is obese. And you wonder about that. How does that happen? What the dynamics there? It's very hard to sort through that. Todd's question, it raises interesting implications and issues. Context is everything. Your relationship with food is formed and learned by those around you, as is everything else. And as a child, what you see others eating in your family, and you're forced to do it because your mom's not serving separate meals for everybody, is going to infect your relationship with food. And psycho-emotionally as well. What's interesting is that as children, let's say you have 3 children, and you have 2 of the children are now, let's say that one is 7 and one is 10. And now you have a child that's 3. And the child is looking and notices that they're smaller, or when they are 5. Let's say you have a child 5, 10, and 15. The child that's 10, the children that are 10 and 15 years of age are obese or overweight. The kid that's 5 is not yet. And he or she sees that. Makes you wonder, what are they thinking and feeling? Do they conclude that they need to look like their brother or sisters? Or do they think that being different is better? What goes on in their mind? I don't see many of those kinds of studies, or at least I haven't looked for those. That intrigues me. How does obese siblings affect non-obese siblings is the question. What impact does that have when you have a brother or sister, or brothers and sisters that are overweight or obese and you're not? How does that affect you? In your family, Gary, there were 12 children.
Yes.
Were they all overweight or obese?
No.
How many of the 12 were overweight or obese? Half?
No, about 4. 4 of us were.
4.
Yeah.
Were the 4 toward the bottom? You were the last.
Yeah, they were to the bottom. The other, it was me, my sister Amber, my sister Beth, and my brother Walter.
They were the 4 youngest.
They were closest to us, yeah, in age. And you want to, putting away groceries. Oh, yeah, we put away some groceries.
Makes me wonder how that happened and why that happened. It could be over time that fast food became more prevalent, got into the house. Your mom did the shopping most likely, introduced more of those foods into the house. They're quicker.
Quicker foods. It was a lot.
She was probably stressed to the max.
Mashed potatoes.
Right. Stressed to the max. The mashed potatoes aren't bad. It's what you do to the mashed potatoes. It's when you take that southern beverage called gravy and pour it all over it. You didn't know gravy is a beverage in the South. I'm just saying. Just saying.
Just saying. In Princeton, Kentucky, it was.
There you go. We'll be back. lady's right. Your health is your wealth, and it's the pathway to a better quality of life. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Thanks for tuning in today. In the first portion of the show, reporting on this new global study on overweight and obesity, on obesity relative to children, children and adolescents, and it has increased fourfold over the last 42 years since 1975. It's 4 times greater. It is truly problematic, and in the ways that I talked about. And then the question is, what's the solution? And there are more than a few people working on this problem. Individuals, institutes, freelance scientists, universities, governments, you name it, private institutions. But there's no coordinated effort. Not even in our country, where there's like a central command. There needs to be and I know this sounds ridiculous to some, there needs to be a central command for the overweight and obesity epidemic, where that center is dialed in to all of the major research institutions and studies going on at any given time, and to start to consolidate what we know, and to have a full federal government effort and a private effort to try and abate this problem. And there have been more. Again, I could talk for months about all the different studies, all the different kinds of things that have been tried, and we're not having much success. The only good news is that the obesity rate among children and adolescents has slowed down or stalled at 17%, thank goodness, for over the last 3 or 4 years or so. That's the only bit of good news. It seems to have flattened out, according to some. Others say that that's not true. But I'm looking for a ray of light here. This is an education problem. We have to teach and I'm not the first one to say this, but we have the experts. You know what the most targeted, the target group is to abate this obesity epidemic? You want to know which group it is? If we want to have a turnaround on it, it is healthy young children, not overweight or obese children. That's the target group that will make a difference in slowing down this epidemic. That sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? You would think that I would have said, well, the children that are overweight and obese. No. Generally speaking, experts seem to agree that the target group to educate and to really identify and focus on are healthy young children. Why not overweight or obese children? Because even the failure rate is high among overweight and obese children, getting them to lose weight and keep it off. Adults, it's even worse, because the dietary behaviors are more entrenched. Now, that doesn't mean you give up or don't focus on them, and we need to study that harder. How can we help overweight and obese children change their behavior, or that is, their relationship with food? Which leads me then to my sort of idealistic, some might say naive solution. I think diet and nutrition need to become a central part of the curriculum in school. Just like reading, writing, arithmetic, IT, computers. It needs to be not an option course or a course you take from time to time. No. It has to be taught every year, part of the curriculum. You're accountable. And believe you me, there's plenty there to learn. And it starts in first grade. I repeat, it starts in first grade. And you start to teach children about diet and nutrition and lifestyle. And it is part of the curriculum. You know, back in the day, they would say reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now it's more sophisticated. The things that children are doing in first grade are far more advanced than you and I did in first grade. These kids are can launch rocket ships. I'm exaggerating, but you get my point. And that's what I think needs to happen. It has to be taught in school. It has to be integrated, synthesized into the curriculum, academic curriculum. Now, some people, listen, they have abolished recess in some of the school systems across the country because it's too expensive. They're cutting costs. Or have chinched on the food in the cafeteria, buying cheaper food, which is unhealthy. This is not where you cheat. And I think it's going to take several generations to turn this epidemic around. It's not going to happen overnight. So that's how I think about it. I think of it as an education problem. It's a health problem for sure, but it's educating children about health in a very specific way and a very focused, persistent, pervasive way, where it's part of the curriculum from day one, from first grade all the way up to through high school. You're saying that's a bit much. Yes, it is. But that's what it's going to take. Kids should have at least one diet and nutrition course, at least one a year. At least one. Maybe two. I don't know what you think. I'd love to hear from you about that. I think that's where you begin. And then you branch off from there. And there are many programs in place that could be implemented right now, but if you had a central command. I'd love to hear from you. Here's how to get in touch with the show and share your point of view and opinion.
You can reach us at 877-897-8255. That's 877-897-8255. Or you can do like Todd did and email Dr. Garko at drgarko@letstalknutrition.com. Don't forget to follow us on all the social media at letstalknutrition.com.
He asked a good question. His question was insightful in that he asked, in a word, what's the relationship between parents who are obese and children who are obese? What's the correlation? Generally speaking, from that Public Library of Science 1 study that I referenced, children with one parent are twice as likely to become obese. Children with parents who are both obese are 3 times more likely, generally speaking, to become obese. So the influence of what the parents are eating and their relationship with food has an impact on the kids. That you don't need to be a social scientist to guess that. Children are our most valued resource. And we're raising 25% of kids who are, we have 25% of children who are overweight or obese. 25%. Okay? That's a large number. Of all the children in our country, 25% are overweight and obese together, combined. We come back. I want to pick up a theme that I introduced on Monday. And I was talking about an oldie but a goodie, Dr. Linus Pauling.
At Country Life Vitamins, we've been helping people live
Almost
happy,
52%
healthy lives
of men
since
experience
1971.
erectile dysfunction and benign prostatic hyperplasia. If you've had challenges with virility, sexual health, or low energy, Body Vigor's Alpha Extension may be the answer for you. Body Vigor's Alpha Extension can help revitalize your alpha male and extend your love. Our formula is one of the highest quality nutraceuticals available, formulated to support the processes involved in promoting a healthy male sex drive, energy, and stamina. Alpha Extension has two powerful herbal blends. Virilomax, which focuses on male sexual health, and T-Pump Activator, which helps balance your testosterone levels. Revitalize your alpha male with Body Vigor's Alpha Extension, exclusively available on Amazon.com.
For increased energy, or Flex-Able for joint health. Country Life Vitamins' commitment to ensure all of our products are pure, wholesome, gluten-free supplements, full of natural goodness, provides peace of mind with the knowledge you are using a brand you can trust.
Are you waking up each day to the life you have to live or to the life you want to live? Better health shouldn't be left to chance. Smart choices to living longer and stronger include making Kyolic Aged Garlic Extract a part of your daily routine. For years, medical researchers have recommended adding Kyolic to the diet as a powerful tool to enhancing overall heart and immune health. Recent clinical studies at UCLA Medical Center using Kyolic suggest that garlic may slow plaque formation in the arteries and support healthy cholesterol and homocysteine levels. Previous research also shows Kyolic may enhance your immune system defenses. Kyolic is organic, odorless, and the only antioxidant garlic supplement available worldwide. Maintaining a healthier you could extend your life. Your wellness begins with Kyolic Aged Garlic Extract. Available everywhere fine nutritional supplements are sold. Visit Kyolic.com. That's KYOLIC.com. Or call 1-800-421-2998 for a free sample today.
This is Dr. Michael Garko, host of the nationally syndicated health talk show, Let's Talk Nutrition. Way too often, dietary supplements cost way too much. Not so at Vitamin Discount Center. Here's why. BDC sells leading national brands up to 50% off MSRP every day. Competitors' prices are matched for identical products with proof of price. If you're in the military or are a first responder, you get an additional 10% off BDC's already discounted prices. BDC even offers case discounts. And you can get connected with BDC's VIP mobile text program for additional savings and customer rewards throughout the month. The choice is clear. You can save at Vitamin Discount Center. For a store nearest you, visit vitamindiscountcenter.com or call 813-907-7066. That's 813-907-7066. Vitamin Discount Center. For life, for less.
Feel tired, lethargic, or irritable? Take Solace. You're one of millions of Americans that has trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. In fact, according to a national survey, 54% of adults have trouble sleeping. So what can you do about it? Take Solace. Solace is an all-natural dietary supplement formulated to support healthy sleep and relaxation. Solace can help you fall asleep and stay asleep naturally. Formulated with all-natural ingredients, Solace is non-addictive and won't leave you feeling groggy in the morning. Take Solace an hour before bed and feel the calming effects of this extensively researched sleep and relaxation aid. For more information on Solace, call toll-free 877-533-7066 or visit TakeSolace.com. That's 877-533-7066 or take SOLUS.com. Look for Solace in your local health and nutrition store. Solace, for a good night's rest naturally.
Let's Talk Nutrition is brought to you by Jarrow Formulas, superior nutrition and formulation. Natural factors where great health begins. Kyolic, aging makes the finest garlic truly odorless. A. Vogel, Europe's leading brand of herbal medicine. Let's Talk Nutrition on the web at letstalknutrition.com. We're back from the break, so let's rejoin Dr. Michael Garko.
Science is of a kind that, as an academic discipline, if you want to look at it that way, that is ever changing and progressing. It's hard almost to keep up, generally speaking, whether it's studying the cosmos or studying one cell. it is challenging to keep up. And in the world of health and nutrition, diet and nutrition, health generally, the science is formidable and it's ever changing. And we've learned so much. What we know about diet and nutrition today is literally, if you want to use a cosmic metaphor, it is, we are galaxies and galaxies away from where we were just in 1920 or 1921, that period of time. Around that time, we are just so much more knowledgeable. And that is one of the most frustrating things, too. On the one hand, we know so much more about diet and nutrition. On the other hand, we are so unhealthy because of diet and nutrition more than any other time in the history of humankind. And you say, that's not true because people are living longer. Please, do not attribute that to better living. Attribute it to better science, because now medical science has learned how to keep people alive, even when back in the day, without that assistance, they would have long perished and left the earth. Mindful. Gary can check it. In the year 1900, average life expectancy was mid-40s. Check it, Gary. I think it was 45, 47 years of age, somewhere around in there. Average life expectancy in the year 1900.
Was in England, it was 40 years old.
In England. What was it in the U.S.?
31.
Okay. Currently, average life expectancy in the United States is 78 years of age.
And with a world average of 71, that's pretty good.
So, that progress was made because of better sanitation methods, better medical science, and lower death rate at childbirth. It has not risen, the average life expectancy, because people are eating and living healthier. They are less exposed to, and when we figured out how to combat infectious diseases, that's what's part of medical science. Those are the variables that account for the success and or otherwise increase in average life expectancy. Linus Pauling, a two-time Nobel Prize winner, was in some ways a modest scientist. He did have notoriety and popularity, but he was also held in, how can I put it, ridicule by his colleagues at times, which is ironic. There are not very many people walking the earth then or now who can say, I got two Nobel Prizes. That's a very elite group of people. But at the same time, he was ridiculed. He became subject of the ridicule when he started to voice his points of view based on his research on vitamin C and colds, vitamin C and heart disease. Now, right now, in the mainstream of the natural products industry, there are so many popular dietary supplements. Some of the names you can't even pronounce anymore. What happened to good old vitamin C? And I was, over the weekend and over this past year, it's been on my mind. But when I was going through chemo and radiation, and I just finished not long ago here, a few weeks ago, 1 year of, what was it, Gary? 36 hours of 36 hours of chemo, 31 hours of radiation, 8 hours of Olympta, and 4 surgeries. Later, I'm able to do the show still. I had an anniversary on October the 5th. All along, as sick as I was, what was on my mind was, I said, if I make it, what will I do when once cleared? How will I change my diet? How will I change my supplementation? How will I alter my lifestyle? That was on my mind the whole time. I chose not to do any supplements or anything during the entire 11 months. I wanted the deleterious effects of the treatment to do its job, to do their job, to kill those cells, cancerous cells. So far, so good. Now I'm in a different phase. And so now I'm doing intensive research on what do I do next. Vitamin C comes up with heart disease, cancer, and whatnot. And then as I was doing my research, I bumped in again. I got reacquainted to Dr. Pauling. And over the weekend, I watched a video of him giving a lecture. And it was modest. He was in a classroom. I think it was at Stanford or somewhere. And it was doctors in the room, young doctors, maybe residents, I don't know. And he was very calm. He was elderly, but I was compelled by the lecture, and I took notes. And I said, I need to start to share what I'm relearning from Dr. Pauling and with the audience. And vitamin C now, and I'll tell you what I'm doing and why, is now a significant part of my protocol. And I'll explain why. I'll explain why maybe it should be for you as well.
Are you suffering?
Women who are pregnant or planning to have a child have specific nutritional needs. Maintaining optimal nutritional intake is important for mother and baby. Body Vigor's Preferred Prenatal can help mother and baby receive the appropriate building blocks for growth, development, and healthy function. The Preferred Prenatal formula provides essential vitamins and minerals, along with added support ingredients such as folic acid and DHA. Preferred Prenatal also incorporates a bonus herbal blend to help the mom-to-be with the uncomfortable side effects of pregnancy, like nausea, vomiting, mood swings, and uterine health. Support a healthy pregnancy for you and your baby with Preferred Prenatal, exclusively on Amazon.com.
you may have, at one point in time, had it in your protocol, your dietary supplement protocol, and now not so much maybe, because you think you're getting enough in your food, or it's included in your multiple and whatnot. Well, maybe you're not getting enough vitamin C. I'll explain. Glad you could tune in today. And this is all for the rest of the week. I will, when I have a moment or two here and there, I will talk about Dr. Pauling, Linus Pauling, who, in my opinion, made significant contributions to the world of nutrition. Now, vitamin C is ascorbic acid, or it's sometimes called ascorbate. It is a water-soluble vitamin. You should know that, in that whenever you eat or drink something, you deplete your vitamin C. It's not stored in the tissues. Fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin A, D, E, and so on, are stored in tissues. Water-soluble vitamins are not, so it's hard to overdose on them in that regard. Humans do not make vitamin C. We do not synthesize it. Part of Dr. Pauling's theory about vitamin C and heart disease, he includes a discussion when you look at some of his lectures and papers. He believed that once in our evolutionary scheme, we did make or synthesize vitamin C, but as we moved into more tropical regions, vitamin C was found in the fruits and the plants that we were consuming, our ancient ancestors, and we selected through the process of evolution and selection, we developed we lost that ability because we were getting enough vitamin C from the plants. The body didn't have to make it. Turns out that guinea pigs don't make it either. And they end up being the guinea pigs end up being guinea pigs in the experiments on vitamin C and heart disease and whatnot. There are so many studies on vitamin C, and it's not without controversy for sure. But nevertheless, if you go to Linus Pauling Institute at Oregon State University and you want a nice discussion on vitamin C, I recommend that you go there and they have and type in Micronutrient Information Center, vitamin C, and there's a nice discussion there on vitamin C and its bioavailability, its contribution to health, what happens when you have a deficiency, what the recommended dietary allowance levels are, the RDA. It's about 47 pages long, counting the references, how it's associated with certain conditions like the common cold, asthma, cancer, hypertension, and so on. Even mortality. It's a nice discussion. It will introduce you to vitamin C in not a strict academic sense, but it's science-based. I recommend it. I've now included vitamin C back into my protocol, and I'm taking it with equivalent amounts of lysine and proline. Lysine and proline, amino acids. Yeah, L-lysine's a protein, and vitamin C. The vitamin C in combination with lysine stems from Dr. Pauling's work, where he looked at how vitamin C and lysine together was able to moderate cardiovascular disease, and he claimed, based on his science, to reverse it. That it was called the unified theory of cardiovascular disease. Linus Pauling's, it's entitled Unified Theory of Human Cardiovascular Disease. You can look it up. A theory is simply an explanation. It answers the question why. Why does something happen? Why does cardiovascular disease happen? For example, that's all a theory is. It's an explanation. And Dr. Pauling offered an answer to that question. Why does cardiovascular disease happen? It implicates our inability to make vitamin C, and it implicates lipoprotein A. I'll try to explain the relationship. It also implicates collagen, which you hear me talk about on the show from time to time. Often, collagen is discussed within a health and beauty context. Well, you don't need to alert the media, but I am telling you that collagen is more than a health and beauty compound. It is a life-saving compound, and when it starts to break down, when the collagen matrix in your body begins to break down, you are in big trouble. I will give you an example of a deficiency in vitamin C leading to a breakdown of the collagen matrix. And the example is scurvy.
I looked up the pictures of scurvy.
They're startling.
Oh,
they're startling.
They're shakers. I mean, it will shake you senseless because if you look at them, it's like
it's horrible. You see what happens to the body?
Yes.
It gets so decompensated and disintegrated, if you will. And we first learned about this when soldiers went out to sea. This is an old story, but it's worth telling. And the Navy sailors were called limeys. They were called limeys because they used to give them limes to eat, because limes had vitamin C in them. And the soldiers suffered from scurvy. Dr. Pauling believed that cardiovascular disease was the modern version or extension of scurvy. And people would scratch their head and say, what the devil is he talking about? Turns out he was, in my opinion, he was right. I can describe for you what happens with scurvy. It's not a pretty picture. Come back, I'll have the LTN health question of the day, and I'll continue this little narrative about the connection among vitamin C, collagen, lipoprotein A, cardiovascular disease.
Are your joints feeling out of date and stiff? Is that old sports injury flaring up? Is your body aching from the daily wear and tear at work? Body Vigor's Joint Ready keeps you at the ready for any joint pain that gets out of line. Unfortunately, as we age, joint pain becomes more common. Body Vigor's Joint Ready can help provide relief so you can continue to go about your day. Our formula contains sulfated forms of glucosamine and chondroitin. Studies show that these sulfated forms are more effective than regular glucosamine bound to hydrochloride. Joint Ready promotes a healthy inflammatory response, facilitates cartilage synthesis, and provides additional antioxidants. Keep your joints at the ready with Body Vigor's Joint Ready, exclusively on Amazon.com.
the LTN health question of the day. You can get this. Scurvy is caused by which vitamin deficiency? Vitamin A, vitamin B, or vitamin C? Here's the number to call.
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-8255.
Your right answer, $25 supplement gift card. Scurvy is caused by vitamin A, vitamin B, or vitamin C.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Thank you. Now, cardiovascular disease does not occur in all animals. It occurs in us at a startling rate, in that cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in our country and has been since 1921. Many animals make their own vitamin C. It was once believed that we made our own and then selected out to have a gene not to make it because we were getting it from food. What's interesting, the only animals that produce lipoprotein A, such as humans, also have the ability, have lost their ability to make their own vitamin C. That would include apes, for example, and guinea pigs, and humans. When you put this together, Dr. Pauling, in his theory, suggested that the ability to make, for the body to form plaques in the arteries is really the body's attempt to repair damage caused by the long-term deficiency of vitamin C. Vitamin C and lipoprotein A and lysine get implicated with one another, and as well as collagen. These plaque deposits are found, for example, in the aorta of humans, are made up of a special form of protein or cholesterol called lipoprotein A. Not from ordinary LDL cholesterol. It's a special form of LDL cholesterol, lipoprotein A. You'll see it on your blood test. Plaques form, according to the theory, nearest the heart, where the blood vessels and the arteries are under constant pressure and are being stretched and bent, like the aorta, the aortic arch. Plaque deposits occur in those regions because they're exposed to the highest blood pressure, which damage the arteries, such as the aorta. Plaques only form in those areas, and they're like cracks in a hose. And as the cracks begin to open and expand, the amino acid lysine, strands of amino acid of lysine, start to get into the bloodstream. It is the lysine strands that initially attack, or attract, I should say, the LPA, the lipoprotein A. Lipoprotein A is sticky and a form of cholesterol that attracts the lysine. The lysine then sticks to it. And then it's drawn to where the cracks are and begins to collect and attach to these lysine strands. As the lipoprotein A covers the lysine strands, the free lysine in the bloodstream is drawn to these ever-enlarging deposits in the arteries. This is according to Dr. Pauling's theory. Over time, the process continues and continues, and lipoprotein A and lysine are both together drawn from the blood to build even larger deposits of plaque. This process eventually reduces the lumen, the diameter. The lumen is the diameter of the artery, and the vessels begin to do what? Restrict. As they restrict, blood pressure is even increased more. And as the blood pressure increases, more damage is caused. And that you get this downward spiral. Dr. Pauling wasn't focusing on LDL per se. He focused on lipoprotein A special form of cholesterol. Now, when you put it all together, as I just said a moment ago, this ability to form plaque is really the body's attempt to repair damage caused by vitamin C deficiency, because the vitamin C, turns out, the animals that can make it can moderate that process. And I'll explain that tomorrow a little bit. This is intriguing. The vitamin C then becomes fundamental and essential for us. Essential because we can't make it. It's essential that we get it from our diet in preventing this plaquing from happening in the arteries. And then Dr. Pauling put together the idea that if you take vitamin C with lysine together, which I have now in my container, up to 8 to 10 grams a day, he was saying. Some people I know that knew him say 20, he was taking 20. Will prevent the plaquing from happening and reverse it. I'll continue this narrative tomorrow. Simple vitamin C. Let's go to Mary in Tampa. Mary, scurvy caused by vitamin A deficiency, B deficiency, or C deficiency?
Vitamin C.
Yeah. Dr. Pauling, congratulations, you want a $25 supplement gift card. Dr. Pauling believed that scurvy was cardiovascular disease was an extension of scurvy, because it broke down the collagen matrix, and all that I just talked about gets implicated. And I'll explain that tomorrow. Congratulations, Mary. Thank you for listening. Thank you for calling.
Thank you so
How
much. I learn something every time I listen to you.
Well, thank you. I learn something every time I come into the studio, because that's the nature of the show, trying to educate. And I'm the best student in the class. I'm with you, Mary. Thank you so much for your compliment. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I love learning, don't you? It's so much fun. You feel better. Knowledge is powerful, and it's motivating. Your health is your wealth, and your health is the wealth of those that care about and love you.